Welcome back to Reviews and Rankings with Robbie Sobel. Today, I'm going to talk about the 2025 film, The Home. The Home is a 2025 horror thriller. It was written and directed by James Demonaco, and it stars Pete Davidson, John Glover, and Bruce Altman. Alright guys, I just got back from checking out The Home. This was written and directed by the same guy that created the Purge franchise, and it stars Pete Davidson. Now, when I first heard about this movie a few months back, I assumed it would be just another generic horror movie that would have went right to streaming if it wasn't for Pete Davidson's name on top of the poster. My expectations were low, but leaving the theater, I have to say that this might be a sleeper hit for a lot of horror movie fans. Now, typically every year there's a couple of movies that get put out in theaters or go to streaming that all of the critics and the fans kind of dump on, but I find to be really interesting and a film that is worth watching. I think at the end of the year, this is probably going to be on that list. Pete Davidson plays a character named Max, who had been in and out of foster care his entire life, and due to the inconsistency, often found himself in trouble with the law. After crossing with police once again, he was given the punishment of community service as a maintenance man and superintendent of a local old age home. At first, the job doesn't seem too bad, but as he meets the residents and interacts with the staff, he realizes that this home is harboring a dark secret that is more dangerous than he could ever imagine. One of the most important aspects of any film is the location, specifically in horror films. For me, I love isolation horror, films that take place in one central location. Because of this, you can feel a sense of isolation and dread and a feeling of almost claustrophobia. For The Home, that's what we're dealing with. And this location, while fairly big in scope and size, feels very limited because this character of Max really can't go anywhere. He's stuck doing his job, and he knows that if he leaves, he's going to be sent away and probably arrested and doing some serious time behind bars. Because of this, that isolation and claustrophobic feel is really heightened, and it only continues to build as that tension and anxiety feeling moves forward with the film. Now, there are a lot of characters in this film, but it's primarily carried by Pete Davidson and that character of Max. I know a lot of people are going to snicker and roll their eyes at it, but he did a great job. I was fully invested and by his side from beginning to end. And at the end of the day, that's what you want in your protagonist. Surrounding Pete Davidson was a solid cast of characters and character actors like John Glover, Bruce Altman, and even Mary Beth Pyle, who I remember as Grams from the Dawson's Creek show. Now, what stood out the most in this film was the atmosphere and the anxiety that it was causing. There was more than one occasion where I actually felt uncomfortable, got some goosebumps, and definitely jumped along with the intended jump scares. Those jump scares weren't done too often to the point that they were cringe-inducing or annoying, but they were definitely effective, and it only added to the tension that was being built up. As the character of Max starts to put the pieces together and unravel the mystery, the story takes a left turn. And then once you think you have control over the car, there's a hard turn to the right. And that's what I love about films like this. You think it's going one way, and then it goes into a totally different direction. There's a level of mystery here that continues to get unraveled, and I wasn't really sure in which direction it was going. One of the biggest surprises of the movie is the amount of blood, guts, and gore. I didn't expect that at all. And when that first big scare happens, I actually jumped back in my seat and caught some goosebumps. And it didn't just happen once. There are several examples and instances where this happens in the movie. It was highly unexpected, but in a very pleasant way. The Home drops this weekend, and because it has recently just been brought out to early screenings, we don't have a popcorn meter audience score. But on the limited scope of critic reviews of only 10 reviews taken, there is a 20% tomato meter score, which is not a positive one for the film. Now, I'm not saying that The Home is a perfect movie. It's far from it. It suffers from many generic tropes, an overuse of CGI, and a story that we've seen before. But what effective filmmaking delivers is a story that might feel generic on the surface, but there are enough twists and turns to make it end up unique. And that's what James Demonaco did here with The Home. All the performances really delivered, and it put forward a movie that was a pleasant surprise. While The Home might not end up in my top 5 or even 10 horror films of the year, it might be number one as the biggest surprise. Now, for me, despite all of the negative reviews that it seems to be getting, you're not going to get that on my end. For me, the home is going to settle in with a more than respectable 3.5 out of 5-star rating. All right, guys, are you planning to check out the home, or were you able to check it out early like myself? If you have, let me know what you think in the comments below. If you want to continue this conversation, I'll leave my links for Twitter, X, and Letterboxd in the description, as well as my TikTok so you can check out shorter form reviews and rankings. Now remember though, at the end of the day, no matter what, the most important thing is to keep watching movies.